What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday we had an exciting announcement, a new game system that just kind of came out of nowhere, and this is from Valve, and it's going on sale next week. So we'll go over all the details for the new Steam Deck here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Sony as they did release their latest financial report for this last fiscal quarter, which still brings into question if they can hit their lofty goal of 25 million PS5 sold. And we also have some more holiday sales to look at. This one, though, actually brings in some of the physical releases for brand new titles. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with a LEGO game that's already been rumored before, but now it appears it's actually leaked out a bit early on PlayStation Store. And in fact, we can see this here as the concept for it. And that's for LEGO 2K Goal with 3 O's. But this was discussed earlier this year from VGC as they went over apparently all kinds of different licensed games from LEGO, one of them being a LEGO soccer or football game. And I'm interested in this. It's being published by Take-Two Interactive, and when I saw the card for the online store where they went over some of the details, one of the features is 1 to 4 players online. Now, my thing with this is I was very let down by Mario Strikers. Seeing this, it could still kind of play into that arcade soccer game, and having 4 players online, my hope is that you can do 4 players on the same team, and maybe it is set up like that. Maybe it's not 11 on 11 soccer, maybe it's a smaller field, and it's similar to where it is 4 on 4, maybe with a goalie. That's kind of my hope, and that they're able to figure that out, because that's unfortunate that with Mario Strikers, you couldn't matchmake and go online with a group of your friends. It was just you and one other person who could do that, which got really, really annoying with the different computer characters that seem to have a mind of their own, and it would switch you to them randomly. So I'm going to keep an eye on this because I'm hoping it could be a lot of fun to go online and play with some of your friends. Also, it looks like the PlayStation Portal has found its way out to reviewers' hands, and we're seeing all kinds of unboxings and comparison shots for it. Again, the PlayStation Portal coming out next week, and I'll be picking one of these up to check it out myself. But we can see this image, for example. This is from Gene Park, who decided to put the PlayStation Portal next to the Switch OLED and the Steam Deck. It sort of fits in right between them. I mean, really, the center part, like the tablet area, looks a little, I guess, smaller than the Switch with the Joy-Cons attached. However, then you put like the big boomerang handles of the DualSense on there, makes it closer to the Steam Deck. And I mean, it makes sense. Really, this could be one of the more comfortable handheld devices, and unfortunately, it's just for streaming, because it sounds funny in practice to say, oh, you just cut a DualSense in half and put it on either side, but yeah, that would probably eliminate the issue that we run into with some of these handhelds when it comes to just getting a comfortable grip on it. Well, just put the controller on either side. But I'm more curious to see how it performs in the real world when you're not in one of these very controlled areas from Sony, streaming from a PlayStation 5 just a couple of feet from you with the router right next to that. Let's see how it can handle things when the router is like on the other side of the house and you're maybe moving around and stuff like that. But I will find out when I get it in my hands, and of course, we'll do the full teardown. Oh, and just a heads up in case you were browsing the eShop in the next week or two, we should see some more sales come up from Nintendo when it comes to like Cyber Monday. And in fact, they posted this up over on their website saying that Cyber deals are coming soon, and the check back on November 20th to find deals on Nintendo games and partner titles, which I will keep you guys up to date on, like the Cyber Monday, Black Friday deals as they become available. I think usually for Cyber Monday, if you need storage, whether it's SD cards, USB sticks, SSDs, anything there, generally you're going to find some pretty good deals. But even for games from Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, we should see some pretty deep discounts. But again, I'll keep you guys in the loop. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Valve and their new system, the Steam Deck OLED. So we are getting a revision of the Steam Deck, and it's launching next week on November 16th. And this caught everyone by surprise, except for the people who apparently have had it for a couple of days now. Valve very quietly got a hold of people, sent them out there so videos would be ready, well, for the day it got announced yesterday. And it seems like so far impressions are really positive on this system. And it kind of makes sense because going up and down the feature list and the changes, it seemed that Valve was taking feedback from all angles and just threw it into this new Steam Deck. So we'll start from the top here with all the different changes. One, of course, is the screen, which it becomes immediately noticeable when you look at some of these reviews and comparison shots. It's a 7.4-inch 90 Hz OLED display. It's a Samsung screen. Now, of course, this is a jump up from the 7-inch 60 Hz IPS LCD. It's a 1000 nit HDR peak brightness, 600 nit SDR peak brightness. That is up 400 from the 400 nit brightness of the current Steam Deck. The big, I would say, upgrade really comes down to the battery life and the screen. So it's a 50 watt hour battery, but because they also went to a 6 nanometer production for the AMD APU, which, by the way, this one is codenamed Sephiroth. The previous one was codenamed Aerith, so Sephiroth apparently came in and got rid of Aerith, which, well, I mean, people say I spoil everything, so there you go. But in this case, though, they have the 6 nanometer AMD Sephiroth APU, which after testing and like, for example, Digital Foundry video, where they took it and just, I mean, really put it through its paces, found that it was a significant upgrade in terms of the amount of time you could play this thing at full blast, coming in about 30% more. So they say it's essentially like 3 to 11 hours, which, again, that's pretty good compared to, I think they were doing like a 2 to 8 hour battery life before. I've never really gotten 8 hours out of my Steam Deck when playing it, but maybe for some much less demanding indie games, you can. And also the memory. Okay, so this is interesting because it's up from 5,500 to 6,400 mega transfers, and that also shows in some of the benchmarks where Digital Foundry put Spider-Man side by side and it was getting 4 to 5 frames more per second. So again, we're seeing a pretty solid upgrade across the board. Also, larger, quieter fan, larger heatsink, higher fidelity haptics, and also the Wi-Fi seeing a jump to 6E. They say 2 to 3 times faster for downloads. Keep in mind, you will need to have a wireless access point that can take advantage of like the 6 gigahertz band that they're talking about here. Also, the charging rate is faster, 20 to 80%, as they say, in little as 45 minutes. And there's also fewer steps required for just common repairs. They kind of talk about even the screws that are used in the back of the Steam Deck. I don't know if they're watching some of my teardowns where I complain every step of the way about different screws and systems, so that is appreciated. Now, if we take a look at the pricing here, they have this broken up into a couple of different categories. They have the $400 LCD model, 256 gigabyte. That is like the base model there at the $400 mark, whereas most people are gonna look towards the OLED variants, coming in at $549 to start, 512 gigabytes of storage, moving up to the 1 terabyte OLED at $649. They do have this premium anti-glare etched glass. I noticed that Dave2D mentioned that the anti-glare kind of removes sort of the impact that OLED display has, so sort of keep that one in mind there. It's going to be hard because you'd want to compare it with or without, but you could always put an anti-glare like screen protector on the 512 gigabyte OLED and sort of get a similar effect. And then the big one being a limited edition device that is kind of cool because it's using sort of this translucent plastic, kind of reminiscent of the old days with the Nintendo 64. And then they also have like red plastics in there to contrast it. It's a nice looking system, but it's going to be limited edition, which means it'll be very hard to get. I mean, I assume their website is going to struggle when these go live on November 16th. So you're going to keep an eye on the page, obviously, for when it goes up for pre-order. And then the limited edition one will be even harder to get, I'm sure. So it really just comes down to if you like the look of it with the plastics and all of that. Now, after this was revealed, the obvious complaint was, oh, it's not really that much more powerful at all than the current Steam Deck. And Valve did kind of discuss this a bit, saying that we're about 2 to 3 years away from a Steam Deck 2, or an actual jump up, a next generation leap, if you will, because the technology just really isn't there right now for that kind of a jump to be within reason for pricing, right? I'm sure they probably could build alongside of AMD $1,000-some-odd chipset and device for that, but for what they're trying to do here, which is essentially make it easier for people who don't necessarily want to build a gaming PC or spend that kind of money, but still find their way into the Valve ecosystem with Steam. This makes sense for them at these price points. They're creating this hardware to drive you to the Steam platform. That's at the center of everything Valve is doing. So I don't really want to price people out of that kind of a product. And it also kind of makes sense to me because I feel like this just looks like a significantly better product than what they had originally introduced with the Steam Deck. So why not do a revision if you can at that time for basically what's the same price as the outgoing model at that 512 and 1 terabyte, and then work to build the next generation device when the technology gets there, as they are doing R&D alongside of AMD. But I am absolutely getting one of these OLEDs. We'll check it out in a video, and hopefully I'm able to pick one up on November 16th, at least a pre-order, when they go live. Otherwise, it's going to be a fight, I'm sure, just to get these things in stock and out to the public, especially after what we saw with their original launch. People were waiting, what, like a year or so after release just to get their hands on it. So here's hoping for a smooth launch next week. Next up, let's talk about Sony and their most recent fiscal quarter, as they did release a bunch of information for their finances. But the thing that, of course, people were curious about would be the PlayStation 5 and how many it sold, and how much further Sony has to go to get to this 25 million unit goal for this fiscal year. This would cover July, August, and September, but they did give us updated Spider-Man 2 numbers that we can take a look at, because there's an entire conversation of Spider-Man 2 versus Super Mario Wonder going on social media. But we can start from the top here. For the PS5, 4.9 million PS5 systems had sold in that quarter, bringing the total, at least for the first half of this fiscal year, up to 8.2 million. So yeah, they still got a ways to go for this fiscal year to get to that 25 million mark. They're going to need a massive holiday. I mean, I'm talking, maybe 10 to 11, maybe 12 million systems to sell, at least in the first quarter of this upcoming year, calendar year, right? They have like Final Fantasy that'll help to move systems. They have Helldivers coming up. So there are different games, at least, that they can lean on. But this holiday is going to be really big for them, with Spider-Man 2, Call of Duty being bundled in to their new PS5 Slim model. So that's kind of the quarter and the number we'll look for when they tell us about that to kick off next year. And that means that the PS5 total now has sold 4.6 million. I believe that brings them right in line, or maybe even a little above, the PS4 when you align them. As for monthly active users, we know this is something that all these companies track: Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. Sony currently sitting at 107 million. That is up from the same quarter last year. It is down from the previous quarter to start this fiscal year by about 1 million. However, I do expect it to jump quite a bit in the holiday season for that quarter. So it seems like it's kind of settled in here right around that 105 to 112 million mark. And Spider-Man 2 sold 5 million copies as of the end of October. So that's like the first 2 weeks, we'll say, on sale, which actually puts it ahead of Super Mario Bros. Wonder by more than 500,000 copies, which I think surprised quite a few people, myself included. I thought Mario would have actually jumped out ahead of Spider-Man 2, mostly because obviously there are significantly more Switch systems out there. But also, it's Mario coming off of, I mean, the movie itself and being the face of Nintendo. But hey, Spider-Man 2 just rolled along there, and I'm sure helped to sell quite a few PS5 systems, which we won't have October tracked again until their next report, that being, I think, in February. So we'll have to wait to get like the whole picture with Spider-Man 2 and the PS5 together. But yeah, Spider-Man 2 not messing around. I feel like we're going to hear an even bigger number by quite a bit as it goes through the holidays again in their next report. So far it seems like Sony is on track to hit that 25 million number as long as this holiday goes well for them. And in fact, they're still sticking to that projection. They haven't backed down from it yet, which I wouldn't until I see what happens with the holidays, and then they can kind of regroup and figure things out as they go into that final quarter. But at least for now, they seem to have caught up to the PS4, and they're looking to actually explode past that by quite a bit. So here's hoping they have some games to really get into for 2024 and give us that second half of the generation roadmap. They also talked a bit about their live service stuff, but I think I'm going to go a little more in depth on that with the second channel, Spawnwave Plus, so keep an eye on that one. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about some more sales that are popping up currently. One has to do with just one of the major consoles out now, and that's the Xbox Series X, as there was an update for a price reduction for the holidays, and something you want to keep in mind, because while this is currently discovered for Europe and retailers there, very well could end up being just a global thing, which we can see this posted up. This is over on D-Labs, who says the reduction will no longer be 100 euros, but 150 euros. This is for the Xbox Series X, which gives us a final price of 399 euros for the Xbox Series X. Now, I think there's a chance it could be region specific for how much of a discount there may be, say, in the US, but the fact that we are seeing this kind of a markdown now, or at least kind of just put out there a bit early, makes me think that we will get an announcement from Microsoft maybe in the US for the Xbox Series X. So something to just keep in mind in case you're maybe looking to get a Series X now and you're thinking about doing some early shopping for the holidays. It might be worth kind of hanging out a bit just to see if they have a sale of any kind on the Xbox Series X elsewhere. So just keep an eye out for that. Also, maybe the Series S, I could see that really dropping in price, because I mean, we may see a refresh from Microsoft next year, a revision, just based on some of those internal documents that, yes, were drawn up like 3 years ago, but still possible they have something like that planned out. But outside of this, Target is also running a buy two, get one free. That's 3 total games, not buy 2 games and one of those 2 is free. Very common bit of confusion that I ran into a lot with customers at retail. However, we'll quickly scroll through some of the games, and that does include many of the newer titles, like Madden's in there, and I know Madden gets beaten down a lot online, but it's popular in the mainstream. You may have someone asking for it for Christmas, just throwing it out there. It's part of the buy 2, get the 3rd free deal. You also have Jedi Survivor in there, Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Final Fantasy 16, NBA 2K24, Hogwarts Legacy, Diablo 4, Mortal Kombat 1, Sonic Origins Plus, Sonic Colors Ultimate, Street Fighter 6, Dead Space Remake, Gran Turismo 7, Starfield, Need for Speed Unbound, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Persona 5 Royal on the Switch. Again, the list goes on and on and on for Target, and these would be physical copies of the games that you can just go to the store and pick up. So it might even be worth just swinging by your local Target to see what they have in stock, and in this case, get some of the early shopping done for the software. You can throw 3 games in, one of them's free, and if it's, 3 $60 games, it's technically $40 each, and to have them brand new and sealed, not a bad way to go. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, are you planning to buy the Steam Deck OLED? Okay, 84% say no, 16% say yes. So I feel like if you have a Steam Deck right now, you may not feel as inclined necessarily to jump up to the Steam Deck OLED at that price of, $550, especially if you've been happy with your current Steam Deck. I know people are holding out for the next generation jump for a Steam Deck 2, and you still have a couple of years to wait for that one. And if you just bought a Steam Deck like a week ago before this announcement, you're probably not too happy. But for the most part, performance is within reason, again, like 4 or 5 frames maybe per second at best. So if you have that Steam Deck, you should be fine currently, and just hope that Valve and AMD can come up with something really, really cool for the next iteration a couple of years from now. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Chari, who says, do people really think that Nintendo would answer directly and casually about their next system at this time? I will believe it when I hear it and see it directly from Nintendo via a press release. Until then, I have a huge back catalog of Switch games I have to go through for the holiday season. Yeah, I don't know if people think Nintendo's going to sit down and just go, oh, well, now that you asked, yeah, let me tell you all about the next Switch, the Super Switch, the Switch 2, the Nintendo Switch. There's 2 eyes there instead. See, it's 2. Anyway, in that case, yeah, what do you think they're going to say? They're going to sit down and try to figure out how to PR executive talk their way out of that kind of a question. But you do also bring up the idea of having a large backlog right now, which I think plays directly into the idea of Nintendo needs to make this thing backwards compatible just outright with a cartridge or your Nintendo Online account, which they have continued to double down on. same deal with this investor briefing that they had. They definitely talked about Nintendo Switch Online accounts with save data and purchases, and I feel like they are working towards that announcement of, hey, all your Switch games are going to work on the next system. I hope they're working towards that announcement because everyone, I'm sure, has a backlog right now for their Switch. I'm sure everyone would love to be able to just move their stuff right over to the new system, not have to kind of keep their old Switch around and active to jump between them. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below, but everything we talked about here today was the new Steam Deck, the Steam Deck OLED. Are you thinking about picking one of these up? And then also, what about Sony making the big push for 25 million PS5 sold this fiscal year? Do you think they'll be able to get there? And with Target having buy two, get the third free, it looks like the Xbox Series might be seeing a discount. What are your plans for pickups maybe as we go towards Black Friday and Cyber Monday? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.